what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, ladies. Hello. Welcome to tonight's episode of Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, and tonight it's all about living in your zone of genius. So we are in our Beyond the Broker season 5 already of Women Behind the Millions, and we are featuring these incredible women in the financial industry supporting us, me, advisors, CEOs, founders of different investment firms, RIAs, financial firms. It's just incredible. Without these women, we would not be able to serve our clients at our highest. So I'm going to start today. One of my favorite go-to books, The Great Leap by Gay Hendricks. I read it every few years. It's one of those books that you need to do that maintenance with. And this mantra, this phrase, I commit to living in my zone of genius now and forever. I commit to living in my zone of genius now and forever. And that needs to become just a life mantra of you know what you're good at, not just good at, what you excel at. What is that superpower? What is that magnetism about you that really differentiates you from everybody else? And committing to doing that work every single day, not just touching on it every now and then, but really embracing it, honing on it, right? I can put together a website. Is it going to look great? No. Is it going to be SEO efficient? No. But what I am really good at is connecting women and doing this show, doing our books, connecting with our female clients, their families. I am great at that. And I've had to strip away some of the other things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis to make room to really commit to living in my own zone of genius. And that's what we're going to talk about today with our marketing expert. So not just doing that, but then how do we also relay that to the outside world to let them know that this is what I do, this is what I'm great at. And I know as a woman, we really shy away from bragging about ourselves, talking about ourselves. We downplay our strengths on a daily basis, don't we? We're extremely hard on ourselves. And we saw that with last season in our Rise and Find ladies. The amount of pressure we put on ourselves as women, the amount of expectations. And even when we nail it, when we succeed at it, we still will look back and say, how could I have done that differently? How could I have done that better? And it makes us very high achieving women. I mean, that's who our audience is. These high achieving, ambitious women. But it also takes away from, the celebration and living in that moment where, it did work out and things are moving amazing, and just taking a step back to take it all in. And we know the more that we do that, the higher we're going to raise our energy, the higher we're going to raise our vibration. And we're going to attract more and more people to us, more opportunities, more wealth, more money, and the right opportunities, the right people. Another amazing mantra that I love, right? I attract the right people at the right time. And so let's talk about your genius today. Let's talk about your superpowers, your magnetism, what makes you amazing on tonight's episode of Women Behind the Millions. I'm really excited for tonight's episode. She comes to us. They were huge supporters of our Financial Trendsetters Gala back in May of 2024. And so we had to get her on the show. She contributed to our magazine. It's going to be coming out next May for our next gala. Yes, we're going to do another Financial Trendsetters 2.0. Cannot wait with the spin on it. And I'm sure they're going to be huge supporters of this next round as well. Well, tonight we have with us Patty Quinn McAuley. She's a senior vice president, head of marketing for Clark Capital Management Group. In this role, she's responsible for aligning the firm's marketing and communications objectives to business goals, all in support of helping financial advisors deliver successful investment outcomes to their clients. We're going to talk about all of this, ladies, all this work that she does. Her work has been recognized by Money Management Institute and Barron's, the Financial Communication Society, and I don't even know if I'm going to say this right, the Gramercy Institute. Amazing. Prior to assuming the position of head of marketing, Patty worked in sales and marketing across the financial, pharmaceutical, and luxury goods industry. She's got a very wide background in marketing. She joined Clark Capital in 2008. She's been there for quite some time. Graduated from New York University, summa cum laude, with a Bachelor of Science in Mass Media Communications. That makes sense given her role. And she received her MBA from the Fox School of Business at Temple University. She's also a certified financial planner. That's like our own version of getting a master's degree in our industry. So let's bring Patty to the stage tonight. Hi, Patty. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well, thanks. Thank you so much for having me today, Jessica. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, good, good. That is quite a background, Patty.
Thank you for the intro. That was yes, my life has it's been a path down, many different lanes, and fortunately, so much came together to allow me to serve in this capacity, both in marketing and within the asset management industry in support of advisors and clients. It's been a long journey and a good one that I'm very fortunate to be part of.
What has been your favorite industry? You've clearly been in financial for a very long time. Talked in luxury goods, some others. What's been your favorite space?
So I like to joke. I joined the financial services industry in January of 2008 from pharmaceutical marketing. So what a time to join.
Yes.
Still standing. And thankfully, I joined Clark Capital, where they just spent a wealth of time and resources in investing in their people. And I had the good fortune to really learn the industry kind of at a accelerated speed, given the fact that we were in the Great Recession. Uh, by by large, in a big way, the financial services industry is um, my favorite. I think it offers such a dynamic opportunity for everyone in it to constantly learn, constantly evolve. There's great people in the industry. Um, a mentor of mine, one of her favorite quotes, which is now one of mine, is surround yourself with the best people. And I think we have the opportunity to do that in our industry. I think you do a fantastic job of doing it with your books and your television show, and the way that you're able to connect women together is truly amazing. And I love this industry. It's that's a long-winded way to say this one's my favorite.
This is it. This is where you're going to stay. Did you know you wanted to be in marketing growing up? Were you always kind of on that creative side, exploring, learning?
I always loved the creative field. I didn't know I wanted to be in marketing until I landed at NYU in college.
Wow.
And that's when I kind of uh, taking a step back, I grew up. I went to 12 years of Catholic school. I wore a uniform every day. I didn't know what a brand was. I didn't know, you know, a lot of the things that struck me when I moved to New York. It was really dynamic, and there was this whole new kind of visual, um, rich environment where communications and marketing and advertising and branding and the media really started to capture my attention, and how, messaging is complicated. It's really complex, and it isn't just the words you use. It's the almost the iconography, the images, the brands that you choose to associate with, the consumer mindset I found really interesting. Um, Kind of associating yourself with the brands that you want to convey and kind of say something about yourself with. So I didn't always know I wanted to work in advertising and marketing, but I did find it really dynamic, and I loved the intersection of communications and media and marketing.
Ooh, yeah, and you bring up the consumer mindset. Have you done a lot of study on that, especially in finance? Right? We're always trying to figure out, like, what are the prospects or clients thinking? What's getting them to act, behave a certain way? We now know there's a lot of the behavioral finance, emotional side to
Yeah.
money we're starting to take in. Let's walk through that consumer mindset.
You're hitting on a passion of mine, which is behavioral psychology. Um, Recently got my behavioral financial advisor designation, went through the BFA course, um, and have done a lot in that space. In fact, a mutual contact who's amazing, Nora Gillis, just had me speak on behavioral psychology at a women's luncheon. Um, the consumer mindset, what I find so fascinating about the consumer mindset, and particularly within our industry, is especially as women, we're hit with so many messages to buy, buy, buy. In financial services, we get to help people invest, 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 and really decide, identify what their goals are, and then create the right behaviors that will help them invest and drive towards great outcomes that help them achieve those goals. So shifting from maybe more of a consumerist mindset and buying things into investing in yourself, investing in your family, investing in what you want, um, out of life. And as financial advisors, the great work you do is helping clients get there, which is a long journey, and it's really easy to be taken off path. So acting as kind of a guide to help clients get there is a really great thing, and something that we all need to achieve our long-term goals.
Yes, I see probably 80% of our work is just the accountability. Let's get a plan in place. Let's establish goals first. I mean, how many times do we go through life, we don't even have goals. Goals
Right.
for vacations, goals for what we wanna send our kids to college, goals for how much money do we wanna have saved up for retirement, goals for our house, right? It's just like a if it's not on the to-do list, it's kinda like forgotten about. So it's like establishing the goals, right? What are the strategies to get you there? And then making sure we're both doing our jobs, right? We're doing the jobs, managing the money, looking at taxes, estate, right? All the different components to it. And you're doing your job with how much are you spending? How much are you saving? Are we getting that extra money to invest and grow along the way for it too? So I hear you, Patty, on the accountability. So not realize you went to 12 years of Catholic school. I went to 9 years of Catholic school. And you bring up a point with the uniform. I remember
Yes.
then going to high school and I'm like, I had a dress code. So we couldn't wear anything written on our shirts, no jeans, collared shirts, all that. But I remember like, this even
I love uniforms.
crazy. Yeah. I mean, simplified the morning routine besides ironing the pleats.
I remember that.
The skirts, for it too, but yeah, you just talk about brands, and then went to private high school, like, no idea about brands. It was it's a whole new world. What I didn't know about. And then for you going into New York City of all places where there's so much culture, so much fashion, constantly surrounding you as well. It's very interesting.
Sensory overload.
That's real, I'm sure, right? Yeah, and then figuring out what is it, what is your true style? Even talk about clothes. We could spend a whole episode on that. How is it that you want to show up as well for it too? So you've gone down the path of behavioral finance as well. I would love to talk about Patty. You started in 2008, so the Great Recession. When we had the financial crisis. Um, and just thinking back to marketing back then, how different it was to today as well. Can we go through that evolution of marketing? What were the companies doing, the financial companies doing back then? And let's talk about, what are they really focusing on today?
A lot has remained the same, and I think rightly so. It is a people business, it is a relationship business. We need to know those who we serve, our investors, our clients. Hopefully we never lose sight of that. But it has become more digital. You and I would not be having this conversation. The Zoom environment and kind of revolution that took place over the pandemic really supercharged digital marketing, and there are a lot more opportunities to connect online and in different spaces that just did not exist in 2008. I mean, I remember it wasn't until 2004, 2005, 2006 where social media started taking hold, and now everybody's got a LinkedIn profile and we're connecting with each other professionally, sometimes socially, and professionally on platforms like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all the other channels that are available. In certain ways, it makes it harder because there are so many channels and so many different ways to tune in and get messages, and there are so many more messages that we're hit with out there. Whereas 20 years ago, it was a lot simpler. But there are some benefits to that. We can really increase the communication that we put forth into the world, and those people who want to tune in and find what we put out there useful can tune in and can connect and can stay connected. I saw some research that I quote often. People need to hear a message 5 to 7 times for it to really stick. So one of the things that we place a big emphasis on at Clark Capital are our webinars and our monthly and quarterly communications. Consistent messaging through the same channels where people can tune in, and those messages can be reinforced. And via our webinars, you can ask questions. It's not just one way, it's interactive. So marketing has evolved to a point where it's a lot more conversational these days than it ever was before.
I like that, more conversational. You're right. There's so many different ways to engage and communicate, whether it's on a post and you're liking and you're commenting, or you're direct messaging them through the different social media platforms. Yeah, thinking back to 2008, right? How much was print, right? The fact sheets, advertisement, the brochures, right? How many advisors? I need to have a brochure. I need to have a printed brochure. Whereas now the printed brochure, that's your website. Yeah, there's a website and you have everything. Follow social media and you have everything too. And we had some clients who worked for those financial printing companies. So we saw that completely changing on their profession, their careers, and some of them getting out and ahead of it, and some kind of lingered through it. It's so different how much we print versus don't print these days.
And we can print, we still do print. We can print on demand. It's not, sending off huge volumes of materials to get printed. It's more on demand when people need it, and they can consume things to their liking. It's much more focused on the customer and their needs and their wishes and how they want to consume the materials. Maybe they want a printed fact sheet. Maybe they just want to go onto the website and look at it there. There are a lot more different touch points. Funny story, and I'm going to date myself. I remember having an internship in the very early 2000s, might have been 2001, 2002, where every morning it was at MTV Networks, and we would clip the press clipping. So you'd get a stack of newspapers, and you'd have to go through page by page and look for the press mentions and literally clip them out, put them in a booklet, make copies, and then deliver them to the executives' offices on each floor of MTV Networks. It's a little different these days.
Fascinating. Very cool to be in that area. Sure. Wow, Patty, it's so changed. Yeah, so different. Yeah, now everything, right? We get news stories nonstop. Part of what, the markets, they price into articles, headlines so quickly nowadays because it's so
Yes.
accessible.
You get an email every morning with any mentions and any press clippings, and it all happens based on how you set up your searches. And no one's clipping out stories anymore.
Simpler times. Fast. And you did bring up a point how it's so accessible to us, right? Engaging with our clients, prospects, But then there's that notion of boundaries between on the personal and the business side. And, we're big proponents of, everybody has a personal brand, whether you know it or not, right? If you have a social media profile, you have a brand that's out there. Right? You have a live blueprint of who you are and how you're showing up as well. What would you say on that note between personal side, business side, and that engagement, especially with clients and prospects? It can get a little tricky.
It can. I think you need to get clear about how you wanna show up. If you wanna be out there, uh, in the public domain,
Mhm.
how do you want to be out there? It's not just what you say, it's what you don't say. And to your point about boundaries, you have to set them for yourself, otherwise they can be made or not made for you. So if wanna be out there in the public domain on social media, uh, make sure that you're crafting your message and telling your story in a way that you wanna tell it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it can get very complex.
Yes. No, thank you for that viewpoint, Maddie. Very helpful. Now, you mentioned going back to behavioral finance for a second here. I saw one of your presentations for our dear friend Nora Gillis. She's been on the show multiple times as well. And there was a study of the brain under stress, under stressful financial decisions. Do you remember this?
I do remember so
And I
very
bring
well.
this up at a lot of educational events that we do and seminars. You know, why would somebody want to use a financial advisor? What are the ways that we can benefit them as well? But just from a stress standpoint, let's talk about what this study was and what showed up, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so they were fMRI brain scans, and they looked at areas of the brain, under stress, under, having to work through challenging problems, assisted and unassisted. So in other words, you had to work through a really challenging problem all on your own
Mhm.
in one scenario or on one side of this visual image, and on the other side, you got to work with another person. You had someone with you. And the areas that lit up, in red were bright red all over the place for the when doing it on yourself side. So if
Mhm.
you if you're trying to work through the problem on your own, lots of stress going on in the brain. Whereas working with someone else, you saw green and blue and much less stress. You saw areas of the brain that were responsible for reasoning, a little bit of red, a healthy amount of red, but so much less stress when you're working through a challenging situation or a problem or an issue or something that requires a lot of brain power with someone else. So it pays to have a guide. It pays to have a
Mhm.
trusted friend, colleague, advisor, mentor, someone to be with you as you kind of figure things out. I think we can all attest to the fact that when we sit and stew on an issue that is stressful, uh, it's harder to come up with solutions and answers than it is if you just bounce ideas off someone and have someone there kind of to talk it through with. Um,
Yeah.
I've spent a fair amount of time and did the Wharton Investor Psychology program, and they spent a session talking about positive psychology, and that's kind of one of the hallmarks. Martin Seligman, famous psychologist, he created the positive psychology program and movement, where he kind of took his research and took his work in a place where traditionally psychology was about helping fix what was going wrong. But his philosophy and where he took his career was more about identifying the human behaviors and elements of our experience that are good and helping people create more of it and thrive. And one of the big things that he found is that it's really helpful to have someone in your corner, uh, a guide, a partner, someone to talk through and rely on and get help from rather than just going it alone.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I love that, the positive psychology.
Yeah.
That's very refreshing to hear. Thank you, Patty, for explaining because I was not doing it justice as I was re-explaining it to people to study. Um, but, it shows because we do a lot looking at, how does stress affect the body and our decisions moving forward. And when our brain is all lit up red, right, we're not getting blood flow to the brain. We're not getting the nutrients to the brain. It's kind of shut off. It's like, right, there's what, a pipe, right? It's clogged, right?
Yeah.
It's not moving forward. And when that happens, you immediately go into that fight or flight mode, right? Survival mode. And it's almost like you have the blinders on and you will repeat a decision you made in the past because you're able to survive it through that moment. You didn't thrive, you survived through it. And right. You were in debt, we're just going to add more debt to get out of the situation. We got out of it. Doesn't mean it's not painful. It's painful, but you can't see other options. Is it when you said, bringing in that guide on the side who doesn't have the blinders on, can look at all of the options out there. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can gift our clients are these are what your options are, right? These are the different ways you can get through this situation or to get to your goals. Let's figure out what's the best one for you. And then you get to decide as well. So it allows them to make new, better decisions with their money. And then as they do that, they're lowering those stress levels, right? They're getting the blood flowing. And then it's also your physical body being able to heal and move forward as well. So by the study, the work that you're doing is so helpful for us to then see when our clients are in that state of stress, how we can ease them to make better decisions for themselves, for their family. It's that ripple effect then.
Yeah, that was really, you put that really well. With the blinders on when you're stressed out, you don't have the opportunity to see the options that are there and available to you. And it's an evolutionary thing. We're wired for that to happen and for good reason, right? If we're getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger, we want the blood to go to our large muscle groups. We don't need it to go to our prefrontal cortex and areas of the brain responsible for long-term reasoning. Robert Sapolsky, the famous researcher from Stanford on stress, he said the prefrontal cortex is responsible for helping us do the right thing when it's the hard thing to do. The blood's not going there when we're stressed out. So, observing and recognizing in advance of that stressful situation happening that I want to have someone in my corner who I can call, I can dial up or go to their office and meet with or go out to coffee with. You want to form that network before you're in that situation where your options you can't see what's at your disposal because your body's focusing efforts elsewhere to try to survive and stay alive, figuratively, right? But your body doesn't realize that it actually thinks that you do need to survive and you're under a real threat. Um,
Yeah, you're so right. It's similar, right? The these days is that I'm getting chased by a tiger, a bear, or right? Somebody's trying to kill me.
yeah, I can't
Like
log into my account. I've been hacked, and you get the same that flush of
instant.
cortisol and stress hormones hit you so you can get running.
Oh, let's talk about cortisol for a second here too. For us women, right? Cortisol, what does it do? It makes us age faster, gain weight, right? Sleep less, right? So the more that we have those levels of cortisol, it does not help us versus, meeting with somebody, therapy, meditations, understanding the behavior, understanding the physical symptoms when you're in fight or flight, right?
Yes.
I don't know what happens to you, Patty, like usually my jaw, I would say, gets tight. I know some people will like you start doing a nervous twitch. You see people's feet going really, really fast.
Everybody's got their tell.
Yeah, everyone's got that little their symptoms, right? But we can see I'm going into a state of stress, right? So what can I do to get breath work is amazing. Veronica Rogers, she's has done a lot of breathwork training because, going through traumatic events, losing a lot of loved ones over the last 2 years, right? Knowing our breath, those different things, it can really help. And we could talk all day on behavioral finance, you and me. This is your passion, right? This is where we can really geek out on. But I love it because it's being spoken about more in the mainstream, that there are reasons people stay in debt or can't seem to save money or get stuck at certain levels with their income or their assets, right? And that's right, there's so much opportunity there, right? So we can see these patterns playing out in multi-generational patterns.
Mm.
Now we have the tools to fix it. I look at like the internal wealth, then we have the external wealth, right? Your actual assets and whatnot. So stay with us, ladies. This has been so fascinating to me. I'm sure it is for you all too. We're gonna come back with Patty Quinn McAuley in about a minute. See you soon. At the Wealth Boutique, we know there's a different kind of wealth. It's not just about the dollars in your account, but that sense of freedom, confidence, and security that comes with it. We know that money isn't just about the math. It's so deeply intertwined with your emotions, values, aspirations. And it's your time. For too damn long, society has whispered in your ear, planting seeds of shame, guilt, greed, embarrassment around money. But here we say and do something different. We give you permission to be who you are meant to be, to spend where it feels good, and to invest where your heart is. Our female-focused team of advisors understands the unique financial journeys of women, couples, and their families. We're not here to just talk numbers. We're here to help you craft your own financial triumph story, one that reflects your goals and values. We open up our arms at the Wealth Boutique to guide you, be your confidant, your advocate, your ally, whether it's your retirement, financial plan, or estate plan. Let's craft your unique story and get started. All right, we are back with Patty Quinn McAuley from Clark Capital, marketing expert and guru, behavioral finance specialist, here with us. And we're part of this show that I love. We're going to get some tips and ideas from Patty. And two she already shared. I'm going to reshare them because, again, she says it takes 5 to 7 times for a message to come across or to really resonate or for the person to be ready to take it in. So I'm going to say this 5 to 7 times through the show, Patty, for people to remember, but we forget that. And you also mentioned consistency as well. Being consistent with where you're showing up, what your message is, getting in front of your audience in a regular routine fashion. So it builds trust, knowing that I can trust they're going to show up. This is what they say they're going to do. It builds that relationship, that engagement as well. Here's something questions I get from advisors all the time. They see our social media, our branding, our marketing, and they think they have to constantly come up with new content. I'm like, no, people are going to see that maybe 1 or 2 posts of yours every once in a while. You can have the same exact post multiple times or just twist it up a little bit and it'll feel like all new content to them. Because again, they need to see it 5 to 7 times. You said it before. So Patty, what is your financial tip, strategy for female advisors out there trying to market themselves? What would you say?
So I can talk a little bit from our perspective, what we found effective and just kind of underscoring the communications aspect. I read a recent Y chart study that said, the number one reason that clients change financial advisors is lack of communication. So just making sure that clients feel that you're there for them, especially at times when you're needed most, when the markets are in turmoil, things are challenging. Make sure that you are communicating early and often. We talked about social media. It's also getting on the phone and setting up appointments and making sure, especially when the markets are volatile, they're hearing from you and hearing from you often. one of the things that we do here at Clark Capital, and as an asset manager, we partner with financial advisors. We have many ways that we get information, our expertise on the markets and thoughts on the markets to them, like I mentioned, on a consistent basis. So every month, we're holding webinars on the markets. We're holding webinars on our strategies. We do practice management style webinars for advisors that are looking to grow their business and better serve their clients. And there's a cadence to all of them. So if I had to say one, kind of bring it all up into one overarching theme,
Mhm.
I'd say it's, consistent communications.
Yes. In the old school, as you said, getting on the phone, calling people, client, you can't replace that, right, with AI, emails, rough helpless at all. That personal touch that they know that you're there. They can count on you during their tough points. And then, as you said too, with the market volatility as well. Yeah, let's take a moment to talk about Clark Capital. We didn't get to do that before. And who you are. We love working with Clark Capital. We have access to you all through Asset Mark. You analyze client statements for us, what recommendations, what changes, building out. And I call purposeful investing, really strategic in building out portfolios and not just picking different stocks, bonds, funds, but what's the purpose behind this? What's the strategy behind it? Whether the markets are doing well, they're not doing well, we're going sideways, they're volatile. There's layering of strategies behind it. So let's just take a moment, Pat, if you can talk about Clark Capital for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. We are a 100% independent family and employee-owned asset manager. We're based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Like I've mentioned, been here for over 16 years. And we have a team of investment professionals who day in, day out monitor the markets and invest for investors' end goals and objectives. We partner with financial advisors. So we work very closely and have a deep partnership model where we get to know the investors' goals, objectives, and can personalize portfolios to help them achieve or seek to achieve their long-term goals. I'd say, something that differentiates our business model is the amount of service that goes behind the investment. So we've got a team of CFAs on staff to the communications effort. Glenn Dorsey and his client portfolio management team will analyze statements and help advisors and clients understand how their portfolio looks and if it matches up to helping them reach their goals and objectives. So stated another way, um, looking really deeply at their portfolio and assessing it, and then making recommendations for how we might be able to improve upon their current situation and make sure that they're on track. We also help them stay on track. So our goal is always to support the financial advisor. We're here as a partner to support the financial advisor because we know clients' situations, investors' lives are getting more and more complicated, and financial advisors have a lot on their plate. So Clark Capital really hones in on the investment side so that we can be a partner to financial advisors and help advisors help their clients on their investment journey. There is so much more to the picture, right? There's estate planning, tax planning, there's college planning. Advisors are helping clients in so many ways, and we try to support them, wherever and however we can. We also have introduced advanced wealth planning capabilities to help advisors support clients who might be considering the sale of a business. The research shows there's $10 trillion of assets in businesses that are expected to transfer hands and transfer ownership. So making sure that advisors are in a good position to help investors as they think about selling or transferring ownership of a business. Same with estate planning, making sure that clients have the right estate planning in place for clients well in advance of when they need it. So, from our standpoint, it's making sure that we can help support advisors and high net worth clients uh, in many different ways so that they can confidently stay on track and move towards whatever goals they have set.
Wow, that's amazing. You said $10 trillion dollars in
That's
business?
a big number. There's
Who's
a lot of wealth in small businesses, uh,
Yes.
and you know it as an independent financial advisor and business owner yourself. It's personal.
Oh, it's another baby. Well, 3rd and 4th baby. Maybe it's of our family, you're right. Yeah, taking that extra step to do the planning, it's huge. We love working with Clark Capital, been huge supporters of us too at our Financial Trendsetters Gallon Mastermind, hopefully for next year's as well too, Maddie. Um, you brought up a trend as well as we're going into, what are the trends that you're seeing here in the financial industry? And one that we're seeing is the support. So we love working with companies like yourself, financial firms that offer amazing support because unfortunately, a lot of the larger ones, we won't name names, but they're trying to get rid of their call centers, their service centers. They want to go to emails and chat, online chats and bots and AI. And especially when it comes to people's money and the accessibility of their money and knowing what's going on with their money, that's scary to me. And Patty, so I especially asked Mark and Clark that extra support. We don't have to call a call center or service center, right? We have a go-to contact, a person on the other end that we know that we've built a relationship with and that we trust is huge in my opinion. Patty, how about you? What are trends that you're seeing in this space?
That's a big one. So, especially here at Clark, we've invested heavily in our client support teams, making sure that we are well equipped to be able to take that call and be here for the advisor. We want to be your go-to call when whether something happens in the markets or with a client. We're here to help. So moving, absolutely, the investment side is the most important thing we do. We are an asset manager, and alongside that, making sure that we've got the support structure to be able to deliver it in a way that is cohesive, that makes sense, that ultimately helps the client, helps you as the financial advisor. It has to be, you can have the best product in the world, but if it's not delivered well and it's not helping people, then it's just not going to work. So we invest heavily in our people, and we hear from financial advisors like yourself that you really appreciate calling in and getting someone on the phone who you know and you've built a relationship with, that can help you, and someone who knows the client and can, on an ongoing basis, help you steward those client assets and help them on their journey.
Yes. Amen, Patty. Very true. Very true. It's so needed because it's going in the opposite direction with so many other firms. So thank you, Clark, for investing in that. It's huge for us. And that's the same personal touch we want to give to our clients as well. So it just keeps going, right? With that kind of level of support that what Caroline, one of our advisors, says, right? The champagne service, she calls it, right? Everybody deserves that kind of service.
Yes, if you're delivering that level of service to your clients, you expect to deserve that level of service yourselves.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Patty, for saying that. Beautiful. All right, we have one more question for you.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
I love that question. Mm, what makes me a women behind the millions? So, I would say we're building a network here. We're supporting successful elite financial advisors, in their effort to help clients. And we have a great group of women advisors that we support. We have a great team of women here at the firm. We have a great team overall here at the firm. Um, but ultimately, we're helping clients on their journey, and we are behind women in their in their efforts and their goals to achieve their dreams and their objectives.
Yeah, and their wealth. Let's throw it out there, right? Wealth is a part of that.
$30 trillion is expected to be controlled by baby boomer women. We talk a lot about this great transfer of wealth. We had Marcia Mantell on. She's done a couple of our Live from Philly webinars, and she's an expert in the space. And she, for Women's History Month, came on and talked about how, it's not just a transfer of wealth to the next generation. It's a transfer of wealth by and large to the spouse first. And women are going to be huge inheritors of wealth. We already are. We already control, I think it's $11 trillion of wealth. But $30 trillion by 2030 is expected to transfer and be largely controlled by women. That's according to McKinsey. And women are a powerhouse, and we're here to help.
It's incredible. Patty throwing out the big numbers tonight. 10 trillion in business owner assets. And then we have 30 trillion that's going to be changing hands. It's a generational passing of wealth, but also within genders as well. Just incredible, Patty. And we're here to educate women to be ready for that. So that we optimize that money, right? And we're building out this amazing community. So thank you, Patty, for being part of here she is, ladies, Patty Quinn McAuley. Thank you for being part of the Women Behind the Millions, part of our community, such huge supporters of us as well. It's been incredible. Thank you for being here with us tonight on Women Behind the Millions.
Thanks for having me.
And we will see you all next week on another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting our show. It is because of you that we do this, and we have so much fun, and just to bring these educational resources out there to you, ladies. If you need anything, hit us up at wealthboutique.com or follow us at Pink Fix My Money or at the Women's Wealth Boutique. We can't wait to hear from you, ladies. All right, see you next week.
Hey, money queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at Pink Fix My Money and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.